All right, so we're good to go. All right, seeing as it is 1 o'clock, this Thursday, the 29th, we're going to call this meeting of the ARPA Commission strategies and outcomes. We're going to start off with the first agenda item, as always, that is public comments. We're going to ask anybody that has a public comment to stand up, give us your name, your address, and speak or serve the room.
Do I need to come out to the podium?
If you could come up a little bit so it's closer to the microphones, that would be appreciated, but not necessary.
Okay. Now drawing your right.
Thank you, District 26 Supervisor. I apologize. I'm making amendments to my notes based on very recent discussion. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. What I'm looking for is some clarification during this meeting and maybe as follow-up. One of the concerns that I have is, as of 4 o'clock yesterday, I am aware of 2 municipalities that have not received any communication or follow-up with the funding that we voted to go to the municipalities. And I'm speaking specifically about that one. I know at one of the last board meetings, we were told it has something to do with the county. So, but one of the concerns that I have is the municipality wasn't even aware that this money was coming. Now, please tell me that that is on me for not telling my district that that money was coming, or why there was not communication from accounting or Winnebago County to them to expect it. And is it not just a simple ACH check? I'm not understanding what the delay is. So I would like clarification and follow through on that so that the municipalities can take care of business as well. Then, this is very much amended. When we voted to eliminate the 25-50-25 and now just have the 50-50, here's where I'm reconciling still with Mary Ann. It is my understanding that whether either the spirit of the letter of that amendment and the resolution that passed by the county, nonprofits was not part of the spirit in ARPA funds. And it appears that that's coming back before this committee and to be voted on again. Where I'm wrestling is because the amendment was made, because the resolution went through, according to the rules, that can't be brought up again until next session, which is 2024. Whether we like that or not, those are the rules. So I need help reconciling with that. I also am learning about the 4-person citizen group member. I'm not seeing my district area represented in Fox Crossing. I want to make sure that they are adequately represented. And something else with the 4-person committee, because it is government or taxpayer money ultimately that's being distributed, I'm asking for complete transparency so that those meetings that are held by the 4-person committee with the person in the executive's office, those need to be public, those need to be put on the agenda, exhibits need to be displayed, and people need to be able to attend. And so those meetings are should be reported as per County Rule 8 and 22. At the very least, I think we as a board, or at least I as a board member, I want to see every single project that was submitted, what the score was, why it did or did not pass. I think every board member deserves to know that, and I would like to see that presented. The last one is item number 4. You're seeking 10% for a sunsetting position. And although I've had very open discussion with Mr. Damon about a grant writer, if the current balance is what I think it is in the ARPA fund, we're talking $2 million or possibly even greater as 10%. The current salary of a grant writer, according to salary.com, the grant writer is anywhere between $65,000 and $82,000. So let's give an average of 70,000. 3-year sunsetting is only 210. 10% is not needed to be allocated. And I would like that to be reconsidered. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the room that would like to give public comment? When we get to the discussion.
I don't know when you spoke before. What I want is something that you put on the agenda. I have an issue out by me that's been roughly 15 years old that Winnebago County signed off on, and the project was not completed properly because I have now got a lot of water in my ditch. And I've been to all the committees, I've been to the highway shop, talked to them, they're gonna come out, they're gonna maintain my ditch, which I understand that you can't just say, hey, I want this ditch tile. I understand that's not gonna happen. What I like is that they keep getting maintained. And they have admitted at the highway committee meetings that it was an issue of the prior commissioner signing off on the project. So what they are looking at doing is possibly tiling, which is great. But also, I'm gonna go to Land and Water too, bring it up to them, have them come up and look at it again on what's happening. So if it's a rescue project, me and my neighbors would like to get rescued some of this money. I have no idea what it would cost to get this done, but it'd be nice if you guys at least look into it and see if we can get some of that money to the highway department to fix this issue on that. You know, yesterday, you know, with the maintenance that's going on with the mortars and stuff, you know, the county board is prioritizing that they need to cut the state highways. And they're gonna have the mortars out there until whatever, July something, because the state only allows them to mow certain times of the year because of the monarch butterflies, the bees, whatever's going on. But I did follow more yesterday. Got on Oakwood Road, drove all the way to Amno, parked the tractor at his house. That's roughly 30 minutes. More was up. Road here going, you know, when I was on the highway department, the mortars were kept in the areas that they were working. The patrolmen that were patrolling the roads would go pick the guy up, take him back to the shop. There ain't no extra wear and tear on the equipment. You know, I get the same thing every year with this ditch issue. The tractor, I'm guessing now it's gonna go off to the EAA. It's gonna be out there for a month, you know, because they need to get that all cleared up. I'm just asking that we get this project rolling a little bit faster. I've been on this for 2.5 years. But the ball is rolling. Andy Buck works with me. He's a great representative for my district and helps me when I can, tells me what I need to do and the process I need to go through. So the process I'm starting here is that some of this money might be earmarked for that project. To get the ball rolling a little bit more, to get the tile in here, and get highway department involved in this, so that get parks over here to come help. You know, that's my next stop, is I'm gonna stop at the parks next week and have them get out. Hopefully they can come out and look at what's going on. They already did. But when they put this sewer in there and they hit that artesian well down by Horseshoe, there's so much pressure there, that water went 50 feet in the air. And if you guys want to take the time and drive along E from Horseshoe Road down to Zingenhagen's drainage ditch, stop and look at each one of them fire hydrants. There's so much pressure there from that well, it's pushing water up along the side of the fire hydrant pipes. And you guys can't go to the Algoma Sanitary District because John Hayes already signed off on this project, and his thing is, he waves a golden ticket, says it ain't our problem. So, you guys caused the problem, not you guys physically, but the highway commissioner caused this problem, and I just wish you guys would look into it, seeing that some of this money can get earmarked. And in the meantime, maybe push a line on one more truck maintenance going on, because it affects the homeowners and it's affecting two farmers. And it's flooding their fields. And they're losing, revenue. So I think you guys need to look into this and I hope you guys, thank you.
Can I get the name and address real quick?
Sidney Opperman, 4608 County Road E, Ashland, Wisconsin.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bob Schmeichel. I live at 215 Mandela Court in Palomino. I'm also the town and Inn chairman and the chairman for all of Winnebago County town units. I came here originally this afternoon to ask some specific questions, but I will tell you, what you said in the email just hours ago. I want to thank you for that. I want to thank the committee for all the things that you have done in the spirit fund deliberation. You're doing the right thing in the right direction. And all those ladies and gentlemen had some interesting questions. I, for one, agree with the direction you folks are going in. I did have some concerns coming into the meeting, so thank you very much. I would ask, did you send this to myself or have you sent this to all the town chairs and stuff? Ethan, did you do that?
Yeah, everybody.
Okay, because I think that will help answer some questions in our town association unit meetings that are coming up. The only one that I would ask is the redefinition of that 10%. There will be questions that come up with that. I understand the position that you're looking at, but that doesn't equate for the whole 10%. Okay, so I appreciate that, and I thank you for all your work you're doing. Thank you.
Anyone else in the room that would like to speak?
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Greetings to the ARPA Strategy and Outcome Commission. Read an interesting article that came across my email today from the Ashland Northwestern speaking about this committee. I don't know if everybody's seen that, but it gave me a little bit more flavor about what you're all about. Plus, I read that there is actually a citizen member of that Oswald. I don't know if you, well, are you also a county board supervisor?
No, I've been coming to these for,
Okay.
so I've been here for a while.
So some of what I'm going to talk about, you've not heard before, because I did speak in front of the county board in the public comment section last week.
I listened to those too.
Oh, you did? So I won't cover, I don't want to bore people with other things.
It's all recorded.
Did you, I'll give you this though. The entire board has received that letter. That is the letter that turned out to be the application of the Spirit Fund for what proposal I'm talking about. Again, Bruce Abraham, I'm the Oshkosh Pickleball Club Board President. I represent 1911 Amy Joe Drive, town of Algoma. My district board supervisor is Ralph Harrison. So spoke last week. I've sent that copy of that letter a couple times to the board supervisor. I've made a number of attempts to speak at the county parks committee. I've made 2 visits to the office, and I keep being told we're still debating on when to have a meeting. And they're still not even on the calendar for July and wasn't on in June. So I can't go speak to them if there's no committee meeting. So I would ask you to help move that along, weekend. It seems to be a full. The pickleball club, of course, was established in 2009. And again, pickleball in this community, as well as nationwide, is absolutely exploding. The letter has data that I also submitted with it that you can see. One important note with Oshkosh being a tourist destination, and pickleball players, when they travel, including myself, you typically Google where you're going to find out where the pickleball players, who to reach out to. That happens here. We get contacted by people that come to the EAA, Life Fest, asking about where the games are, who's playing where. And there were father and son that came from Virginia last year that enjoyed it so much, they actually reached out to me and asked how we structure things, and they were actually going to take that back home and structure things as far as our leagues back in Virginia. As far as Winnebago County residents that I'm aware of that come to Oshkosh to play pickleball, and what we're talking here is outdoor courts. We're not talking indoor courts. Because that's handled today by the wide to the best extent they can. And again, demand far exceeds supply. But I'm aware of players coming from Amro, town of Amro, Winneconne, town of Oshkosh, town of Blackwood, town of Winneconne, town of Algoma, Neenah, and Clayton that come to Oshkosh to play. But we have so few courts here in this town. We have four-court complexes in Omni Park and South Park, and there's going to be two-court complexes completed by the end of this year. They expect in October, one at West Haven, 2 courts, and one at Tyke Miller Park, 2 courts. In addition, in the county, we also have 1 court at Jones Park, town of Algoma. Neenah has 4 courts at Washington Park, and again, these are dedicated pickleball courts. Winneconne is in the process of building 1 or 2. I'm not sure. I've been told 2. As some people have been told by 1 by another person. So as you can see, there is some progress being made within the county, but in no case is there more than 4 pickleball courts in one location, dedicated pickleball courts. And I can tell you for a fact, Menominee Park and South Park, the ones with the 4 courts, at times at Menominee Park, there'd be 20 people waiting, paddles waiting to go in and rotate in. The same thing can occur at South Park. And what some of the South Park players are doing is actually going on the empty tennis court and just hitting the ball over the net back and forth. The courts are not lined. We work very closely with Ricky Munger, the city parks director. When I say we, the Oshkosh Pickleball Club. In fact, our first fundraiser last year raised enough funds to buy wind slats for South Park pickleball courts. And Ralph Rotz and Ralph is our treasurer on the pickleball club board. We went out with 1 Parks employee, and we probably did maybe 16 feet of the wind slats. And so week following next, we're going to get volunteers out there and hopefully complete the course. We have another fundraiser coming up, our 2nd annual, this coming Thursday, a week from today, July 6th, Foxborough Brewing Company. Public is welcome to come. We have a lot of nice raffles. The businesses and organizations in the city have been very generous supporting pickleball. They support our pickleball league with awards. And this year for this fundraiser, we've raised nearly $2,200 worth of donations from the community, which is outstanding. Benefits of pickleball. Low cost of entry. Does not cost much. You can buy a paddle for $20 if you want a wood one, not the preferred one. Balls cost maybe $10 for a sleeve of 3 and a good pair of court shoes. Also, it's a great cardio workout, reflex conditioning, hand-eye coordination, balance, and memory conditioning. And also, one of the main things is the social interaction that occurs and the mental health benefits that come from that. Typically, people that start playing pickleball many times say they're addicted. They just can't give up the game. They just want to keep playing. So who plays in this area? Really all ages, all nationalities, women, men, various social classes. So it really is everybody. And what's occurring right now is we're seeing an influx finally of younger people coming into the game. The Oshkosh Rec Department for the first time this year, this summer, in their summer program is offering pickleball as one of its lessons to kids. Even though the national age and 21 average age is 38 years old for pickleball players, I would still say around this area, it's probably hanging in that 50-year-old area. So there's a lot of seniors involved in the game in the Winnebago County area. What are the gaps in the current situation? Demand far exceeds supply of courts. We just don't have enough courts. There's room to add courts, There is not room to add courts really in a lot of these established Oshkosh parks because there's limited space. The parks are pretty much built up. And so what is occurring when these courts are built in, they're eliminating tennis courts. In contrast, Winnebago County Community Park has the room, it's a beautiful venue, and the pickleball courts there. There are pickleball courts there, by the way, but they're unplayable. They're dangerous. They have a court surface on. It's like if nobody has been out there to see it, you really should. It's like a plastic honeycomb. It gets very slippery with any type of humidity or dampness, and the ball does not bounce correctly. If it hits some of that honeycomb on the edge, it'll just go veer off. In addition, the influx of new players, like I mentioned, there's players getting trained all the time. The tennis center, Sheila Collins, runs training lessons for new players throughout the year. Armed from the pandemic, from a pickleball perspective, a lot of our people during the pandemic could not get out and play pickleball because they stayed at home, which was what was asked to do. Although in some of the warmer months when the COVID virus seemed to be letting up a bit, people started venturing outside, but they kept in small groups. So what occurred was people were sacrificing their exercise, their cardio, reflex activity was eliminated or certainly lessened, as well as the memory conditioning. Also, the social interaction didn't occur, and again, that was a huge mental health concern. And I can tell you, I can have a couple references here. What I just mentioned about the pandemic, that comes from the National Library of Medicine. It was published in February 21st of 2023. In addition, the Mayo Clinic Proceedings Study in December of 2018 stated this: life expectancy for playing racket sports increased among the participants between 6 and nearly 10 years. So what is the benefit of racket sports? Pretty significant. The speculation is that these sports also involve more social interaction than individual sports. So what they're saying is the social interaction benefits the mental health, and that is also contributing to people living longer playing these racket sports. So again, there's a gap in today's environment. There's a need. It needs to be addressed. I also spent some time last night, and too much time this morning, reading the Department of Treasury overview of the final rule for the FLRF funds, published in January of 2022. I imagine all of you probably read that already. So the proposal that we've laid out from the Oshkosh Pickleball Club concerning the build of a complex at the Winnebago County Community Park aligns with the intent of the American Rescue Plan Act because it addresses the affected classes of people. It also states recipients can use funds for programs, services, or capital expenditures that respond to the public health. And public health eligible uses include behavioral health care, not necessarily after the fact, but also to prevent issues with healthcare going forward. It also states spending on government services, the most flexible eligible use category under the FLRF is government service spending, because there's streamlined reporting for that. You don't have as much reporting. In addition, capital expenditures less than $1 million, you don't require any written justification to the Treasury Department at all. Not required.
I apologize for interrupting, but I want to be respectful of other people who may have comments too.
Okay. So, okay. In the future, I invite any questions or future discussion, just let me know, we'll be there. And again, this is a highly visible and valued use of, I believe, the current county ARPA funds. And if I could close with one quote from County Executive Damo, who's in that Northwestern article I referred to today. With this one-time infusion of capital, community projects seeking funds to improve our county's quality of life for years to come. So speaking about here. At this time, we will not be funding operations, programs, or pilots. Rather, we are seeking to increase the infrastructure and resiliency in our county through one-time investment. So, thank you for your time. Thank you. Appreciate it.
If I might, a quick question,
Yes.
sir. Have you said you tried to address the Parks Committee? Have you addressed these requests and concerns to the director of the park?
I have talked. In fact, the first discussions I had starting last December was with Adam Priest.
I
Yes.
suggest like the process, I think, would be that you would urge him to submit a request from that department to the ARPA Commission for funding of maintenance and upkeep on the current pickleball court and perhaps in addition. That's the process we're now using. So he as director would be requesting that funding from this commission. So he's your key person.
And I've spoken to him a number of times,
Yep.
but I have not spoken to him since after I submitted this letter. I received an email from County Executive Damo, and then I circled back with Adam, just verifying that this was our submission to the Spirit Funds. It was confirmed back to me, this was submission to the Spirit Funds. In addition, I was told then by Adam, and in another conversation I had with the county executive, is Adam is working on an all-inclusive parks plan. So, to what you're saying, I'm a little confused what I should be doing.
It's my impression.
If I could clear up real quick, both are correct. Adam is working on outdoor comprehensive plan. We want to take a look at what our needs are in the entire park, county park system, which is more than just our county park facility. It's not a shock to people that we have some amenities that are worn down, pickleball courts included. We fail to maintain those. I want to make sure that whatever we have, we can maintain going forward. And I'm reading on that comprehensive outdoor recreational plan to really lay out what our entire needs are. And I've asked Adam to come up with a full report on one ask of how to adjust the outdoor recreation. So I do appreciate the patience on that, and I can understand some frustrations with the process.
And if I need to circle back with Adam, I will. Should I do that? And circle back, okay. Could we have, could I ask Adam, or can I do an email, can I get a meeting with both of us?
Yep.
Him and you and I. Sure. If I could answer one other question that somebody let me know during the meeting after the meeting Thursday, of the ongoing maintenance of course. Does anybody here know what the ongoing maintenance yearly of a pickleball or tennis court is? Anybody know?
I do not.
I could tell you. I could tell you. Put up the nets in the spring, take them down in the fall. That is it. You don't have like soccer fields, softball diamond, you don't have grass to mow, you don't have lining to do, you don't have infield to break. You have nothing to do other than put up and take down the net. The pickleball players themselves will keep those courts clean. We bring our leaf blowers, we clean them off. In fact, I'm a member of a number of different pickleball clubs on Facebook throughout Wisconsin and UP. And up in Highlander, the fire department actually came and hosed off their courts, which I thought was a great gesture. So I just want a clarification because I heard that question came up Thursday, and there is no maintenance. My maintenance is over time, longer term, like 10, 15 years, and of course, maybe have to be redone. But other than that, there is no maintenance.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
Anybody else in the room that wishes to address the session? I do see your hand up on Zoom, we will get to you. So if anybody else wants to, get in the Zoom line, please raise your hands as well.
I'll make this real short. My name is Lynn Crum. I'm the director of the Amo Area Community Center. I did not expect to come in here and speak today after the question was brought up about nonprofits. I felt I had to speak. I would ask that everybody keep in mind when the question comes up about nonprofits receiving monies from ARPA, that nonprofits are not all the same. The OACC, I feel, is an exception because there is only one organization in Amro like it. And last year, we lost the lease on the building that we had held since 1995. Everything fell apart. All the social life for the elderly was non-existent. We had to start from scratch. We received notice in September that we had till the end of December to vacate the building. December 31st came and all activities came to an end. Since September, when we received the notice, everything in the building was packed up or sold. Every piece of equipment was auctioned off. The city refused to negotiate a new lease. They refused any offers of buying the building. We have since been fundraising. We've had donations. We have bought our own building. It's much smaller, but we have a long ways to go. And we need every penny we can get from any source. And this ARPA money means a great deal to us. So please, don't say that nonprofits don't deserve money, because we do. The Amro Area Community Center isn't just a place where the old people go. Advocate Meal Site belongs there. The Scouts can meet there again. We have a temporary office in the Baptist church right now. There's a big enough space, maybe as big as this room, where our elderly ladies still do chair exercise. We do strong bones. We have coffee clutch once a month. And up until 2 weeks ago, we had rock painting for the kids at school. We've suspended that for summertime. We have a line dancing class. 2 of our members in that line dancing class are over 90 years old. You would not believe the energy in that room. We need meeting space. We need room rentals. We want our AA groups back. We want to be able to bring back programs that are important to the kids. We want our literacy and learning back. This is just the beginning for us. We finished the demolition on the building. We're waiting for state approval on our plans. Then we can get in there and do the plumbing, the electrical, start putting up the new walls. So again, please remember that not all the nonprofits are the same. Thank you.
I too do not plan on speaking today, and I just want to thank you for pointing out how important our nonprofit community is and how they are not all equal. I am the support services director for the Damascus Road Project, and we focus on serving a very unique marginalized population. In doing so, we also support the family members by addressing generational trauma. We contribute to building a safer community by partnering with law enforcement to ensure perpetrators for sex trafficking are held accountable. We focus on community education and prevention of sex trafficking and commercial sexual exploitation, an atrocity that every citizen in this county is vulnerable to. And most social service agencies are overburdened, trying to meet the breadth of needs that they cannot adequately provide. Since every organization operates best by focusing on their own mission. And our success is critical because we provide the opportunity for referral to unique and qualified service providers for a unique population. And we also work with the community as a whole. A healthy community meets the needs of the community. A community without resources to meet the needs of a population in crisis is a community that would be burdened by the lack of a proper response. This puts pressures on various social service agencies that the community will feel. We are in the process right now of trying to acquire a larger office space, and that is what we're going to be applying for ARPA funds for. This office space will allow us to meet with all community members from all communities, large and small, within the county. To date, we have served over 565 unique clients. And each of those people come with family members, loved ones, neighbors, who are also impacted by their trauma. Based on this historical data, we anticipate serving over 300 clients and educating over 6,000 community members this year alone. We know that is going to increase slightly with the new facility and program offerings that we're putting together. I just want to emphasize the impact of this very unique marginalized population in the community and the ripple effect that it has, because we don't have services available that can adequately serve them. I just want you to know that we also partner with a ton of community organizations, law enforcement, probation and parole, judges, prosecutors, other social service providers. And we plan to enhance that with this one-time purchase of a new space that we can better serve the whole community by serving these folks that are in this marginalized population. Nonprofits are not all the same. And without this money, we probably will not survive at the level that we are continuing to try and sustain right now. We need more space, a one-time opportunity, so that we can continue to offer the services that we offer to the community.
Anybody else in the room? So to Zoom. Yeah, Supervisor Dowling, raise your hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just before I begin, I wanted to address the fact that on Zoom, I was not able to access the meeting until the host let me in. Typically, we don't do that as a county for open public meetings. So I'm not sure if that's a setting you could change, but I would just appreciate it because it took over 5 minutes to be let in. I'm also not able to start a video, so I apologize for that as well. I am here. I'd like to start a video so you could see my face, but I'm not able to do so. I am here today with a sense of disappointment and feeling of being deceived. As a county board supervisor for District 1, I believe it is fair that you only share in these sentiments of mine. During the March County Board meeting, I took a decisive step by proposing the removal of a provision in the ARPA budget. The ARPA Commission had intended to allocate a substantial amount, over $8 million, to nonprofit organizations. This represented roughly a quarter of the total budget. To my relief, the County Board voted in favor of this change with a majority 21 to 11, and it was passed successfully. However, my astonishment knew no bounds when I came across a press release by County Executive John Damel dated June 22nd, 2023. In this press release, the financial applications were once again made available to nonprofit entities. On page 6, we find the following statement, quote, "Who is eligible to complete an application? All organizations, government, not-for-profit, and businesses are eligible to submit an application." Interestingly enough, Beth Oswald, a community member and executive director of the Oshkosh Area United Way, has been entrusted with the responsibility of scoring all of these applications. The re-inclusion of nonprofits raises concerns of a potential conflict of interest. Let me be clear. It is not my intention to vilify nonprofit organizations. They serve a noble purpose and contribute to our community in valuable ways. However, it is crucial that we respect the freedom of individual choice. Winnebago County residents should grant the autonomy to decide which nonprofit businesses they support, rather than obligating them to support specific organizations through the use of taxpayers' dollars. The principle of honoring individual choice and autonomy lies at the heart of a democratic governance. By compelling residents to endorse particular nonprofit businesses, we undermine this fundamental principle. Before I conclude, I would like to draw your attention to a significant event that took place in March of 2022. During that time, Winnebago County actively pursued federal grants, which resulted in over $10 million being awarded to local nonprofits. We should reflect on all these matters with a sense of responsibility and prioritize the preservation of the democratic values in our decision-making process. I urge you all to please consider the vote again that was taken in March of 2023, 21-11. I'm just a little confused, to be completely honest, as to why the decisions that the county board makes are not being upheld. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Anybody else on Zoom? Anybody else on Zoom that would like to speak? Anybody else on Zoom or in the room that would like to speak? All right, seeing none,
Supervisor Dolan brought up that she couldn't get on if they had to call in or whatever, for some reason why, it seems like we've had problems with this last couple meetings, or whatever. With this, you're signing in, is somebody signing in wrong, or what's happening?
Supervisor Dowling had signed in twice. We let her in almost immediately. There looks, a couple people had gotten kicked out and had to come back in. I don't know why. There was a waiting room. But we've been letting them in as they come in, so.
That you couldn't get in.
I did notice she and Supervisor Harrison had to come in twice, but that wasn't.
No, we're working on it. It's one of those things, hopefully soon our upgrade to Microsoft 365, we're gonna be able to start using Teams, which will have a little bit more control over, and our agenda, our agenda prep software that we're looking at, we'll be able to do, make it much more easier. There have been some difficulties with Zoom and Zoom licenses and we have to get back.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to agenda item number 2, approval of minutes. Approval. Okay, have a second of that? Okay. All right, any discussion?
I have, something needs to be changed. Item 5. Read in the resolution to allow for deviation. It was 10% deviation on the resolution that we were discussing. And that should be in there. Cassie?
Okay, I'm making a note of it, yep.
And the statement, the co-chair, Keegan, asked Keegan Hollander, when the appropriate funds, municipalities and towns would be received. County board approved the resolution of $145,000 for each municipality and town. Received agreement. Received an agreement back. Oh, Ethan said that towns will receive an agreement document that the commission will approve within a week or 2. This is May 3rd. Minutes. I'd like to know that we still don't have an agreement that we have received yet.
Is there an amendment you'd like to make to the minutes? The 10%?
I did, 10%, okay? But I would like to know if this statement is fully true. That would be the statement co-chair Ethan asked Ethan Allenberg. And we received an answer that the towns will receive an agreement document that the commission will approve within a week or two, and we have not, I've not seen anything like that.
Well, Supervisor Cox, the motion is to approve the minutes or make an amendment to the minutes so we can approve the minutes. After discussion, I agree on that. So is there an amendment that you'd like to make to the minutes? The 10% deviation to be clarified?
That should be clarified.
All right. Okay, second motion.
What are you asking to clarify, if I might?
Item 5, discussion on action resolution to allow for deviation in the spirit fund category request. It does not state it's a 10% deviation, and that is what was on the resolution and what we were talking about at the time.
You would like the 10% deviation. Staff, are we clear on that amendment?
Yeah, we'll just copy the resolution title.
Would you like to make a motion to amend the minutes on that? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Any discussion on that? All those in favor of the amendment of the minutes to state clearly 10% deviation? Say aye. Any opposed, say nay. Any further discussion on the minutes? All those in favor of passing the minutes, say aye. Any opposed, say nay. All right, that passes. Moving on to item number 3, update on request for funding proposal of the government identified community projects category. As we get into this, I just want to state a little bit. This is that middle 50%, and it's government identified projects. A lot of confusion, I think, around this has been that the bottom 25% that got moved was listed for nonprofits. That was never what was brought to the board. It was non-government projects, which also includes economic development corporations, which includes tourism corporations, which includes a lot of that. Another clarification I want to make before we move on is that we partner with nonprofits all the time. And if the county board decided to make the decision that we are no longer going to fund nonprofits, we are going to have to cancel hundreds of contracts that we have, which is also going to add a lot of work and a lot of money into our human services. We have until recently contracted for human services contract with LSS for our shelter care that was in Oshkosh. That is a contract that we've had going for a long time. That was plenty of money. One of my concerns when I got in the office is that it's hard for me, even as the executive, to figure out how many contracts we have with who, which is one of the reasons that we're doing Friday-based budgeting, so we can really make sure that that aligns with us. So as far as partnering with nonprofits, this is nothing new in county government. And as somebody has spoken before, they are exactly right. If we stopped doing those contracted services, we would have to exponentially grow our human services, and we probably have to build 2 or 3 more units in our jail, amongst everything else. So they are our partners in our county to make sure that our citizens look after, and they are the safety net before our safety net. And if they don't exist, we have a much harder job to do. So the government identified projects that we're going to be talking about now are nothing new. These are things that we have always done. We have contracted, for instance, Solutions is doing programs in our jails right now to work with people on addiction, which had quite a success rate, by the way. We have changed the way that we do good call shots in our jail to an exponential amount, getting people the services that we have and allowing us to continue that services after they get out of the jail. So there are a lot of things that we partner with some of these too. That is our job to do if they were there to help with that mission. So I just want to clarify real quick, and hopefully alleviate some of the confusion on nonprofits and the role of government. That being said, I hear concerns and I understand, how that would look. There are certainly nonprofits out there that I would not want to, fund. So I can understand, how that goes, but again, this is more about services. So with that, I appreciate, the opportunity to hopefully get a little bit of clarity, and of course, if anybody has further questions, please feel free to reach out to me, my office. I would be more than happy to sit down and try to, understand where you're coming from and try to help understand where I'm coming from. So that being said, we want to move on to the first part of, item 3, in the citizen review work group.
Thank you. So at the May meeting, I was nominated. I did not ask. I was nominated and approved to head up the citizen commission. So I'm trying to do what the commission is asking to do. I will let you know that was May 3rd, 5 days after I came out of major reconstructive surgery. So I had the rest of the month off for finishing up treatments for what I was dealing with. So timing wise, we did take a little longer because I had to take care of my health. So I just want everybody to understand we haven't been ignoring this for the last 2 months. I just needed physical time. The other thing that took some time was trying to find citizen members from the geographical, Mr. Conley, I'm sorry, I don't know what your last name is. So to try to find representatives from that Nina Menasha area, from the rural areas, to be able to be representative of your locations that also didn't have a vested interest in nonprofit. So the people who are philanthropic and that are community focused oftentimes are on boards of nonprofits. So it's very hard to find individuals to be able to serve on this that also don't have another tie to a nonprofit that very well likely was going to apply for this funding. So there was time in doing that. While we were also doing that, we were trying to come up with some type of, and I think the mistake was maybe calling it an application rather than an assessment. So we developed a tool without really knowing exactly what the requests were, but based on what we had heard, trying to gather enough information to be able to present to the whole board at the September 5th meeting. So the intent, Conley, really was to make sure that we can show all of the projects that were coming in. I want to make sure people remember that nonprofit is just a tax status. They're still corporations. They're just like other businesses. So that differentiation is just merely a tax status. So the intent of this was not to promise funding to anyone necessarily. It really was to gather information to show the county supervisors what kind of projects were coming from the community. Because especially when I would sit through the county board meetings, I would hear a very different version of what the community wants than what the supervisors were saying. So we put that application out. What we're doing is we're kind of skipping and we're going to really a project assessment survey that is open for everybody. So, Rachel, if you want your sidewalks to be considered, that would be something that you could fill out this survey. But we are trying to get a gauge on what are the needs in the community for funding for this, because we have so little direction on where this money should be. So with that, the intent and the timeline really is to take that survey, open it up for 3 to 4 weeks, get the messaging out, because again, unfortunately, the timing of the press release, it went out, it was already too pressed before we could change it. Come back then in September with an outline of everything. Here are all the projects within that time when those projects come back. our group will meet with the county executive's office to determine this is a county function. This is not something that might fit within the bucket of covered government identified projects. And these would be government identified community projects. And then it's up to the board. If the county board as a whole decides that we don't want to fund any community facing projects, that is your determination. And then we can say that we've done our due diligence. We've identified everything that's happening in the community. Maybe some other projects will come up. Maybe people will come together and internally fund it. Maybe you'll decide that some of this money should be pivoted and moved toward those projects. But we're trying to be very transparent in this. Yeah, Mike.
Is this assessment taking any of the information that Mr. Belter has put together for an application and using it?
And more. So the type of questions that are in there are, what stage are you in the project? Because I was getting a lot of questions on, well, we're just in exploratory, but I think can we apply? And then other people were like, well, we've got shovels in the ground, do we have shovels? And we already bought the building, can we not apply for money? So there were questions that we didn't even thought about. So this is really going to be, do you do a financial fiscal audit? Because you want to make sure that this would be going to somebody who knows how to do an audit and a report out on how the funds are being used. Where's other funding coming from? I have it printed out. I'm happy to share with you, especially if there's.
I was curious, that was going to be my second question.
Yes.
Is what does this thing look like? And do we all get a copy of it so we can assess our own situation?
Absolutely. The whole intent of this is to bring to light the issues and the projects and the things that are happening in the community that could be one-time funded or immediate funded that's going to have a lasting impact, that isn't going to have a lasting financial impact on the county, that it's really just one time.
Some of the promises that have already been made, such as 145 or 140,000 that goes out to each one of the towns and some of the municipalities. That money has already been spoken for, and that money is, they're actually awaiting a check or an ACH or whatever. Mr. Hanson, we have already taken that to Mr. Dearborn and to Mr. Youngquist, let them know that that's there or it will be there. And they are waiting for that. An application would be moved as far as that promise is concerned. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, so
this would be really that $8 million initiative, still available from that planning document, where we need that extra money.
And to follow a little bit more on that, suggestions, concerns, or maybe before is that was in the resolution of the steps. We wanted to make sure that the projects were identified by the municipalities and the towns, that it was approved by their board. I think if this commission had gone to the county board, we're just going to send $145,000 each payment to every town and municipality. I don't know if that will pass. So we are trying to follow some of those facts. Correct. Anything that was allocated already.
are you sending a copy of those guidelines behind the check or with the check or before the check of $145,000?
I had a report went out on the email went out today.
Yes.
Thank you.
I disagree with you. I think they're all looking for that 145,000. I didn't think we're gonna have to fill out this all form. Some of you haven't seen, I was lucky enough to see it in my position, but there's a whole form of 1,000 I gotta fill out too. We're not just gonna get that check handed here, just so you know.
So that's good to know, because I didn't know that. So then the messaging would be, at least when towns are, because I thought it was, here's your check, make sure you're using it. Somebody has to report on the back end. I didn't realize it was on the front end. So it's just all this learning of, I understand the nonprofit piece of it, but I don't understand the government side. So we'll make sure that the other is, this is outside of that 145 that municipalities receive.
Well, that is why I'm asking directly to you, John. That list of, that little list of questions that you're asking before you send the check, and they receive that list of questions, and are they up for receiving a check?
The towns?
Yeah, the towns and wherever you're gonna send this money.
I believe so. I would have to ask my finance team.
Because if you read the resolution, there's 7 steps in the resolution that have to be followed before money can be sent out.
Right.
So all 7 of them steps have to be done before any check or wire or anything will be sent to any town. Well, and one of them is they need approval from their municipality. And then there's a sub agreement they have to sign. And there's, well, they're all laid out in the resolution, all 7 steps of
But how did they get the resolution? You have a letter that went out. Oh, it's the day that it's going out.
It went out. That was what, Bob was talking about, right? That's, I would like nothing more, and the staff would like nothing more than just got $145,000 check to everyone. Paul, you agree with that? Right. I mean, we want to follow the steps of the resolution and to be transparent about it. I mean, I think that's what the board wanted, to make sure that there was some accountability how these dollars were to be spent. Trying to do our best.
It was brought out that was going to happen, the check was going to happen, well before the resolution. Nobody said any steps needed to be followed, and everybody is waiting for the money.
Excuse me, if I don't mean to interrupt, but we are going far afield
Yeah.
from the actual agenda, and I don't want to violate anything regarding this.
Thank you.
Yeah, open meetings.
We will get back on track. So back to the citizens. Much water, I forgot my. What bothers me with that is you're gonna do all this work, which I think is great. And then it comes back to the commission, not the board.
We'll let it come back to the commission with, here's what we're gonna present to the board. And so you're aware, and also so you can guide on, are there things that are missing or that I'm thinking about or help me understand, and then we'll present to the board.
And then what I'm afraid is gonna happen, the board's gonna micromanage everything. And do exactly like they did on nonprofits, and we're gonna end up going backwards farther than we go forward. So I caution us in what, are we gonna turn our board meetings into budget meetings every time? Cause then Tom's gonna have to call for midnight snack or something like that. We're not gonna get over there at all.
Yeah.
So,
Trying to balance the board saying, get the money out, but we don't want to rush it, we want to be thoughtful. But then I hear the board saying, we don't want to fund these projects, but then I have other calls from boards saying we have to fund these projects. So I'm happy with laying it all out on the board and letting the board decide on a very high level, these are the type of projects, because I think you can categorize by, these are projects that align with the government function, these are the projects that have the fiscal and financial. I have no problem showing all the different things that are out there, because I think it puts for innovation and community to come together. But I think at least if we can show the entire board, here's the scope of things, and if the entire board decides, no, we're not going to fund any of those, then we're done. But at least we did our due diligence to make sure that the county and the community saw what was available and saw how the board was voting. My hope is it encourages individuals to get more involved in government, honestly. I think our community needs to be more open and talking, and so we can ensure that supervisors are there with their own intent and agenda and they're listening to what their constituents, and that's what it feels like is happening as I've been listening to all these meetings.
Supervisor Dolly, how much money do we think we're gonna want?
allocated for possible nonprofit allocation versus the other parts in that section of the ARPA fund. We don't, it's not an $8 million checkbook that you're working
No.
with, is it? So how much,
I mean, if you look under the government identified projects, there's 8 million that's unallocated and some change. We don't know how much is necessarily available or withhold, and maybe some of the projects would actually fall under the county government. So that's what, if we can get a scope of what's out there and what the need is. So you're asking for funding, and maybe it fit under government, and it doesn't have to come out of this, but we don't know what that is right now, and that's what we're trying to determine. And we can't determine it on our own because we're 4 people, and when there's that many more people, then things just don't happen or get done. So I'm going to introduce, 2 of the 3 other, individuals. Kate Batner, is from the Winnebago area, and she has been serving on the Winnebago Community Foundation. So she understands the needs and understands her area. We've been there 30 years.
Yeah, and I was on the Oshkosh Area Community Foundation for 10 years. Winnebago Community Foundation, just starting my 8th year. Well, because I had to turn limits, but back on.
And then also on the basic needs giving.
I was on the U.S. Venture Basic Needs Granting Partnership, so I understand that review process very well.
And part of this says that it's going to health and human services, housing initiatives, economic. So we're trying, that isn't all government function. So while people keep saying we don't want to fund nonprofits, I think, like Lynn said, there's a very different scope when you say nonprofits. It's like saying everybody on the county board is exactly like, you're absolutely. And then member, we have Rachel Hansen, who is with the foundation at Oshkosh Court. She is not here today. She just approved because she was on vacation for a while. And then Peter Dolflamara. Did I say it right?
yeah, people are.
And you're from Minnemanasha area?
Yeah, I'm representing Winnebago.
And he came from Kimberly Clark as the chief scientist.
Yeah, I was the chief scientist for Kimberly Clark and also the site leader for all of Kimberly Clark's operations. But I retired on April 7th. Actually called my graduation. I'm seeking my renaissance on my retirement.
So we do have kind of a breadth of personalities and backgrounds and geographical. I mean, my home is Black Wolf, town of Black Wolf. So we really have kind of the county, at least the scope of individuals from the north, the west, the south, and here in Oshkosh. A big piece that we're going to be looking at, which also is in this, is what's the geographical location of the project and individuals that will be served. Because we want to make sure that this isn't Oshkosh centric. That's a huge thing. We want to make sure that it has geographical diversity, that it's serving a majority of the county, that all the municipalities get some type of representation with this money so that we can sprinkle it around. So if there's a heavy concentration of asks in one area, we're going to have to recommend maybe here's 1 or 2 because we need to make sure that we're funding all these other locations.
Would it be helpful for
My perks.
Yes, first off, I want to commend you for mentioning people who have got that sounds, it's great. But the next thing I want to ask, corporate counsel, Supervisor Hansen brought up, he said before, it said that about nonprofits. And he said we cannot do that now until next year. I would just like to hear your opinion before these people go through all that work.
That's absolutely fine. So as I was speaking to Supervisor Hansen before the meeting, the initial thought was you were going to have various buckets, and the county board decided to eliminate one bucket, which was I think in the planning document talked about community external asks. This was a planning document. And in that, as we've all talked about, underneath that, they referenced broadband, tourism, small business, and it also referenced nonprofit. The fact that the county board voted to exclude this bucket does not prevent, basically government identified community projects being addressed to nonprofits, in that you're not going against the board with the actual bucket of money for that. The key is to look at the category, and the category title is government identified community projects. Nonprofits, some nonprofits could fall within that, but again, that's up to the commission's purview. So that is what I was trying to explain to Supervisor Hanson before this meeting. Because obviously you do not want to go against the intent of the county board. But again, you're not, because you're not creating, oh, we're gonna review this or reconsider it because that time has passed, and have put that bucket back. That bucket is gone. But it doesn't mean your hands are tied with, again, the government identified community projects. That's my interpretation.
Also, I think, maybe Conley brought up public meetings, so we're a workshop of community members. Do we have to have that as a public meeting and record it? I mean, I want to make sure that we're doing it right from the beginning. We have not met. We have not looked at any applications. The first one I saw was what you sent today. So we have not had any, this is just discussion on how we're going to meet and cadence and that kind of stuff.
I know that the county executive believes in transparency. So quite frankly, I think it should be open. I understand this is just quote this working group, but you're a working group here. So, yeah. I'm sorry, excuse me?
That group is appointed by this body, which is a government.
So there's where I struggle with, get the money out, but if I have to wait 2 weeks for a public packet, we were gonna meet every week. We can't get this money out in time because our timeline was very tight, but we felt it was realistic. The September meeting, we will present all the projects that are available. We would have some type of vetting document after that, assuming that meeting was favorable, that we should be moving forward. Publicize basically the vetting document by early October, present the recommendations to the Spirit Committee by the end of October, and then by November 21st board meeting, present the resolution. But that will never happen if we can't meet every week.
Well, the open meetings law and our practice has always been to get out packages a week before the actual meeting, okay? The law in Wisconsin does not say an actual 7 days. There's more leeway, okay? Not that I'm saying you want to do it at the last minute, but even though the practice of this county has always been to get it out a week ahead, that is not what Wisconsin law says.
I apologize. I didn't know how much time to allocate for this meeting. But I was 30 years in Winnebago and 2 years in Oshkosh with 1 year experience. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Aren't we at the point where everybody has a need and you make it happen?
That's kind of what I envision on this, is let Beth and his team go after it and make recommendations for us. Much like when we kick certain things back to staff. We don't sit and watch them create this and create the process. And absolutely, I want to keep this as transparent as possible and open as possible. And I think that will be with any application. We're not going to hide any applications that are denied, right? That's not the intent.
Not at all.
So everything is going to be equally proposed and equally shared. And I think one of the things that we talked about is we want to make sure that projects are looked at on their merits of what they do, not the ability of the organization as far as certain organizations in this area have national audience. They're connected to large Points Roseville, for example. That's a national organization, they have a national audience. Damascus Roads does not have a national audience. So I want to make sure that the process is truly fair and truly equal for any projects that may be something that helps us in human services to do our job of being that safety net for the county. And that's hence the government identified, projects.
Ken, do you have a place you're going to meet?
Well, we did, but I don't know if we're at the United Way office. We have a big conference room that's close to the size, I mean.
Can they make that happen? Can we get the recording devices there, or are we better off saying have it at the?
I will look into it.
I'd like Mary Ann to take a look into it, and then we'll see, and of course, we're to also apply as much as I can. We're not trying to hide anything.
No, but you just pick the dates, and then if you can have a little bit of flexibility where you need, it might be easier for us to get the stuff in there, but don't let that stop you from, like, you'll make sure that everything's okay.
I would also just like to clarify, with this citizen work group, it is one person, one vote. Just because someone is a chairman or chairwoman doesn't mean they have a weighted vote. That's my understanding. Is that correct?
Well, and it's not even necessarily, we're not even at the point where we just want to bring everything to the supervisors, but be able to categorize it so that the supervisors aren't looking at 400 projects and have to pick out. But we want to categorize, here are the immediate needs that something's going to be finished in 12 months. Here's something that's conceptual, so they don't even know who the project lead is, maybe, or have permission or the right path. So that's all we were going to do, and then determine some type of very objective scoring model. So if there's if somebody has had a financial audit that has a lot of negative or letters on it, that's going to be a very hard, but it's very open.
So again, just for clarity, so if 100 people present proposals, 100 proposals will be presented back here.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and then if we did the, yes, we love this, go forward and do your thing, that's when we would start to, okay, we have 8 million or 20 million in projects, we have to pare it down to 3, then we're gonna have to determine and create a more in-depth scoring model on how we're gonna determine and make our recommendations to this commission.
So if there is no discretion in what is being brought, at least at this stage of the game, to.
There's a little bit of discretion because we're gonna go back to those, funding objectives and priorities that were voted on a while ago by the commission that talk about its,
Purpose and
yeah.
mission.
So those are the not,
Long-term, you want a long-term.
Supervisor Buck, you have a question?
Okay.
You said, helping out human services and the government identified projects. Who else is gonna be in that room? Are there gonna be department heads in that room as well, with the citizen panel, or just yourself? And why I ask them that is that I would feel like the department heads would probably know a little bit better what they need rather than, you're overseeing the whole county and you're.
I'm not part of that panel. I'm just there in case they ask, is this should this be up here or down here? That's it. That's the only input that I'm giving.
And we could have, once they all come in and we start categorizing, that's a great idea to have, okay, here's the meeting with all the department heads. Who does this fall under?
Sure. That's,
Yeah.
Let me ask you, I'm a little confused about process. You said you want to present to the county board. This is a presentation is what you're referring to?
Isn't that the September? That's like a
special order.
Yeah.
meeting
And of course, you're going to put things in a grouping or category as to the request. Correct? But if anything that goes to the county board as far as approval has to come from this committee.
Right, this would not be for an approve, it's more to approve moving forward with looking to fund some of these, I guess that's.
I don't know,
That would be
that
my-
question was there. Going back to responsibility.
Maybe I'm saying it wrong. Present, so the county board doesn't feel like, I heard some of them say like they're being satisfied. You
Maybe
said
you
no
are the
nonprofits and now
opposite.
you're talking about, so my intent was, hey, there might be some nonprofits, but here's why they fit within this, or we feel they fit within this,
That's
under
fine.
these parameters.
That's
So
simply a presentation
Yes.
explaining.
because I want the
Then it comes
supervisors
back
to know
to
what
us.
we're doing, and I don't, the Northwestern article, I'm sure, was shocking. I wasn't expecting that to come out, so now
I don't
especially
get
I
the
wanna make
papers, so I have
sure,
no idea what that-
well, maybe that's good that nobody's.
Wouldn't it be good to have a definition of why the county seeks to have nonprofits or nonprofits seek the county to handle any grants or any money that is driven to them? My feeling of the definition is that throughout the entire state, the state wants the counties to have oversight over monies that are given to each one of either granted to or each one of the nonprofits to follow up on making sure the nonprofits state things the way the state would like them or the way the county would like them in that given area, whether it's on taxes, or whether it's on business credentials or whatever.
I can answer that again. So, I mean, one of the questions in there is, do you already, does the organization already receive any type of federal government, local, state funding? And if they do, my word, the audit and the requirements that we have at Christine, that we have at United Way we have to report, we have tons of reports to the federal government.
It would be,
So we know how,
yeah.
they know how to do it already.
We give you that particular nonprofit
We're not asking
credibility.
for money, but.
Credibility, yes. But what I'm saying in behalf of Ms. Dowling, okay, is that perhaps she did not know the need for counties to oversee the works of the nonprofits in terms of grants and things that are given to the nonprofits through a county. And therefore does not understand, and many of these new supervisors may not understand
That we're
that
already.
your oversight by the county or everything that comes to you is overseen by the county
Mhm.
in some way or another. And that justifies keeping you under our roof.
Mhm. And a number of nonprofits are already getting funding from the county, so.
But that has to be.
I do want to keep us on,
Well, I know, but it should be carried forward in the terms of whatever kind of resolution, or whatever kind of, definition sheet or anything else, application. It
So
should be,
assuming after September 5th, if whatever it looks like, yes, you're in the right direction, or false, if it feels like we should be moving forward with continuing to look, then we will have to come up with what are the reporting requirements, to whom are you reporting, that kind of thing, because I don't want to ever have somebody, I don't want to if you need money, again, ask for the money, we'll tell you how to count and report later.
Point of clarification, these are federal dollars, right?
ARPA, no, they're no longer ARPA.
No longer.
They are now county dollars.
They're now county, but the money that came originally from federal to the county.
And we use that to expense off labor and other things, right? Which brings in surplus.
I do, I may have a concern that the state doesn't have a concern. They don't have oversight.
Other than they tell counties how we can spend our money. We don't have home rule like this.
we do have the rules, on how to spend money for these projects, regardless
is right, you're gonna go through everything that's submitted, you're gonna have, and you're gonna present to the county board. Now, somewhere along the line, the county board has to be, I'm gonna say, educated the fact that they can't go and just put different things in there. That's not gonna happen, right?
Well, that's my question. How are you gonna present it? It needs to be simply a presentation with no action.
Yeah, well, she's got everything that was submitted, which is the way it's supposed to be, submitted, documented, didn't choose anything at all. But it's all sitting there, and now it's buckets, now what do you wanna do, what buckets do you wanna do? I can just envision somebody coming on the line and saying, well, wait a minute. Yeah, there's something I wanna do. Chicken coops. We'll get to that.
That's our job.
That's the next, yes, that's our job, and that's the next bullet point. So there's any other questions on the citizen, review work group? If
I just-
not, we'll move on, yes?
I just want to clarify. So when this presentation, if it is made in September, is given to the board, the understanding is then it comes back here and you make your recommendations and then go back to the board.
Because I see you as the influence that folks on the board. So you guys come back and say, this is not great. Peter can go on his renaissance and.
Okay, well, yeah.
It's not on that there, but I think it should have been brought up, and should have been brought up on pickleball man this year, because we also have two other citizen members, it's not yet. That's
Correct.
Yes. And we have three of them. Right. So I just wanted to make that aware if anyone's on and they didn't realize that it's not on board.
All right, moving on to the flow chart of government identified community projects. Yep. So we have this split up into to two different ways. One that both for government identified projects, and the other one that is for county government projects. So, yeah. Last one, thank you. So it has the definition that kind of splits into county government projects are things that are incentive that we do that's for us, strictly for us. Much like a pickleball court if it were, or repairs to a new building or things that we want to do for facility assessment reports. And then the other one would be government identified projects. This is more like partnerships that we have, if you will. Like I said before, we do a lot of contracts with other community partners. So, Beth, do you want to talk a little bit about the green side first? Because it's going to be more directed from you, and then I'll talk about the blue side.
Well, I guess the first round due, the second box, that is, this was sent out before we decided we're hoping that first round due by July 15th. So the second green box says that, but that is not accurate. We'll be posting hopefully in the next few days, like the process on the county site, but this would be, I'm going to use Andy's suggestion that once we have projects collected, that we meet with your office and their department heads to determine what buckets everything goes in, and then we have to be presented. It's really to be reviewed and so.
And then on the blue side, it's citizen organization requesting county projects reach out to me, send a letter to me, talk to department heads, as always, they'll bring the projects to me, much like the parks. We're working through a lot of these things with Director Brace directly. What is the comprehensive plan? What do you need for your entire park system, not just one part of it? Is it the best use for this money? And we'll kind of decide that way. And then, of course, those projects we will bring forward my office to department heads, and I'll have those department heads come and talk.
Brought us to.
Yes.
Review,
However, yep.
and pick them off as what we want, what we're.
Correct. I don't have the authority to send anything to the county board clearly. So those recommendations will come here with department heads where we get together, figure out what the best use of the best ask and best plan for that is. It'll bring it to this board to look at and make adjustments, as you see fit. And then this board will propose those to the county board as a whole, and then we'll see what happens from there. So any questions on that?
Not the county board, it would be nice to do like in the EDC, they do a continuing resolution, everything is in there. And you know, individual take apart everything in the continuing resolution. I don't manage the recommendation. I don't think it can be done like that. It would be nice to do a last resolution. Get approval of everything. Sure.
Would it be possible to take just a small break? For some reason, the speakers might have switched to my laptop versus the speakers in here. And some people on Zoom are having troubles. They're hearing our typing abilities here versus the speakers. So.
All right, let's everybody find their seats.
Give somebody a checklist of what you have to do, then they do it. Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you.
All right, we have all right, we're recording, everything's good to go. All right, we were just going from the flow chart of government identified community projects into eligibility of nonprofits to receive Spirit Fund dollars. On this, I'd like to turn over to staff and Corporation Council.
We anticipated Tom's question on the agenda, so this address, let's go with our anticipation. Are nonprofits eligible under the category or not? Yes. Yes.
All right, so we are.
What was that answer?
The answer was, yes, under the what county government does. Mary Ann, you want to repeat?
Yeah, so if the board said, no, there cannot be a bucket for this group, it did not prohibit this group from saying government identified community projects, if it falls within the parameters, can include certain nonprofit missions.
Oh, very definitely. Thank you.
Moving on to amount allocated to government identified community projects. Look back to staff too. Do we have the number? This is about the numbers that we already allocated, correct?
So this was just so we had something on the agenda clearly, if the commission wanted to discuss how much money is allocated into that category, if you wanted to increase it, decrease it. So one of the things that's the difficulty with the allocation. We have how much is there, but I think the path forward is seeing what's available and then determining if you want to have it.
Ms. Dowling had her hand up and concerned. And nobody called on her over the last segment.
It was regarding the speaker issue that we just corrected.
Okay, does she have an issue with allocating government identity, allocating into that?
It's chairman's deciding who speaks and who doesn't, and me and Tom, I think, share the belief that we keep to the commission. The public comment is the time for public comment. All right. All right, so the amount allocated to government identified projects, and it's, and I think that's, Beth, that was your concern, what actually goes where. And I think the other part is coming up on the next agenda item, so. If there's any other questions on the update of requests for funding proposals in the government identified community project category, we're gonna go ahead and move on to item number 4. So reconsideration resolution to allow for deviation to 10% of the spirit fund to either spirit category or for innovation fund. Create a sunsetting innovation analyst position within the Winnebago County Department of Administration. So I want to clarify a little bit here. When we brought this original resolution forward, and I'll take some responsibility on this.
Could you identify that resolution? From May 3rd.
From May 3rd, yeah, it was the.
I'm getting some conflicting language in the minutes.
Right, it's in the minutes. It had 2 things attached to it, right? So it had the 10% deviation and it had the management analyst. The 10% deviation, Supervisor Fari, was to address some of the concerns of if we could flow some of that money back and forth for some of the concerns that you had talked about. We talked a little bit in that discussion about separating those 2 motions, but then we never actually did.
Okay, but I'm referring to the heading of the resolution. I have from May 3rd to create a sunsetting innovation analyst position. No definition of the 10% at all. Right. That was added into the minutes, basically incorrectly.
Supervisor, I think in your packet, there's two resolutions.
Yes, and I need to, because I'm bringing forward the motion to reconsider.
The one without the deviation is just if you were to choose to separate them, what just the position would look like. So that would be brought.
That's the one we seen on May 3rd. This is the one from May 3rd.
The one from May 3rd stated to allow for deviation of up to 10% of the total spirit fund into the spirit fund category for innovation and to create a sunsetting innovation analyst position within the Winnebago County Department of Administration. That was what was presented at the ARPA in May.
Okay, the substitute resolution for this meeting then is to create a sunsetting innovation analyst position.
Yep. I wanted to separate the 2 things.
So I'm glad you are, because I'll move to reconsider, but as soon as I'm given that opportunity.
And that was the intent. That is what we thought that we did. We talked about separating those, but then we actually never made the motion. So then when we agreed to send it to P&F, we just sent the position and not that 10%. It's just an error. That's why.
Which is this one.
Right. Why we're trying to bring it back, clean it up, get it right. Send just the position to P&F. And if we want to discuss the 10% variation in a future date, we can do that.
Do I have the floor, sir?
You may.
I move to reconsider my motion to approve resolution from May 3rd as identified as item number 5 in the minutes. That is to allow the deviation up to 10% of a total spirit fund into a spirit fund category for innovation and to create a sunsetting innovation analyst. I need approval from the body in order to make the motion.
Second.
Now, this is a motion to reconsider. There's gonna be 2 motions.
Yep. All right.
Does the body allow me to reconsider?
This is just to be able to reconsider. And you got it, gave a second? All right, any discussion on the ability to reconsider this? That is what we're focused on right now.
I don't know what that,
That means.
that feels like a double negative, right? Are we, yes, but I don't know what that means.
We're granted the authority to discuss this again. Right.
Oh, to talk about it again. Okay,
We're putting it back on the table.
got it. Thank you.
All right, all those in favor of that, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. All right, sir.
Thank
it's
you,
on the
Mr.
table.
Chairman. I move to withdraw my motion, which was seconded by Mr. Damo to approve the resolution. So I move to withdraw my motion. What this is gonna do, if I might allow discussion, you have two resolutions on the table. One of them needs to go. So I'm withdrawing my motion from the meeting on May 3rd, basically nullifying that resolution unless somebody else wants to bring it back up and introduce it as a motion. But I'm withdrawing my motion and support.
Charles,
Yes.
page 2 of your motion that you're withdrawing, what does that have on it? Starting with
You
the,
needed to correct that. There was a mistake made. Page 2 is, if you read the last paragraph, starting with number 39, ending in 41, from the Spirit Fund to the Department of Administration Labor. Then you need to find the correct wording because there was a mistake made in the copying. It should say account.
yeah,
That would be the
42
correct
starts
wording.
with account and goes.
And $1,500, et cetera.
Right, right.
Yes, this is the one I'm moving to withdraw my motion from.
Right.
I'll second that. Do I need to second that?
I don't think so. I think you can just pull it, but we do need a motion to get the other amendment on the floor.
Okay, well then, the chairman's discussion, I'm removing my motion to approve.
That would take the.
That should take this off the table.
Out and everything.
All right. Can I have a motion to put the new amendment on the floor?
Not a new amendment.
Or the new resolution on the floor.
You're looking for a motion to create a sunsetting, to recommend passage of the resolution to create a sunsetting innovation analyst position within the Winnebago County Department of Administration. That's correct.
All right. I am looking for a motion to bring forward the resolution to create a sunsetting innovation analyst position within the Winnebago County Department of Administration. And I have a motion on that. Okay, can I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All right, on this, just to kind of rehash a little bit, I think some confusion came to the 10%, that the 10% was how much this was gonna cost, and that is not that. This was, simply a motion to, use the interest from the Spirit Fund to pay for a management position to put in the Director of Administration to help us look for some of these efficiencies over 3 years. This is a sunsetting position after 3 years. It does go on the TO is what we're proposing, to help us look for all of our different revenue sources, make sure that we're looking at somebody to have the time to do the research on cost allocations, on efficiencies, on revenues coming in, coming out. A lot of other counties use these and they find them extremely helpful as far as finding efficiencies. There have been talks about this position, do we have a requirement on it that it has to save its amount of labor and then some? That could easily be done. Ethan, I believe when you first went to Washington County, one of your tasks was to save double your salary.
I don't remember exactly what it was, but there was a footnote added that save or find new revenues of double or something.
Yeah, so there's a precedent of something like that being done. There is something that we could do to make sure this actually finding some more efficiencies. And they're all across the county, and it's tough for us to be able to have any kind of extra time to dig into some of these things. For instance, chapter 51s. Mary Ann, we've been talking about chapter 51s. How do we have somebody study that to make sure that we are actually doing the best that we can? Not only are we charging our court time to the state, are we charging our prep time to the state? Are we charging our appeals time to the state? And what are all the things that we can actually be doing? Are we maximizing that? Or are we sticking tax levy into some of these charges that should be paid for by other things? Yes, Mike.
The risk of selling on top of selling, you're doing a good job. Mr. Haybeck gave me, and I don't know if he gave everybody, all of the statistics on what a budget analyst or what analysts do, what an innovative analyst position does. My problem in my head is a sunsetting position and where the money is coming from for that sunsetting position, really, because we hire people in the county through the budget. And the board confirms what we hire and confirms the budget cost or the allocation. But when it starts to become more or greater than $40,000 or $50,000 to handle something, you want to have attached to it a resume or some form of background on whoever is coming into that job so that the board can read that, just as they're reading board members' resumes when they ask to vote on them. You want to read the resume of that individual. You can, as an executive, you can hire whoever you want or bring whoever you want aboard. But as getting an administrator to come in and hiring that person and having the board vote on that person, it was necessary to have a resume for him. That was
Let me clarify, are you asking me, do you think that, number one, this position wouldn't work for me, it would work for a director collar, just, it's in the director, it's under the director of administration, not the county executive, number one. And number two, are you assuming that I have somebody in mind on this?
No, I didn't say that.
All right, I'm just trying to clarify.
But I would suggest that you add to the, the scope of your resolution and your human resources data that we're getting, a common resume that comes in with it, that it would involve taking a resume and taking a look at that individual, whatever and whoever it is, to know that it's going to do the job. Now, there are 2 or 3 different types of analysts or grant analysts. The guy that files the grant, the guy that writes the grant, okay, the guy that goes out and finds the grant are really different people. And we've already had experience of filing the NIG, the neighborhood improvement grant. And it didn't fly, and it had to come back and be redone.
5 times.
Yes. We need to find people that know how to write a grant and apply it, if it's going to be a grant. If it's going to be any kind of application, it needs to have a direction, rather than a generalist.
I'm just trying to understand your question. Do you feel that the reason we had to renegotiate that grant 5 times to the state was because of how we wrote the grant?
How it was applied or how it went to the state.
Paul, do you have an opinion on that? Now, you weren't really a part of that discussion, though, were you?
I wasn't, but I had enough discussions with Mike regarding that. It was more of the state was not exactly sure of what they wanted and how they wanted it to file. First, they wanted all the detail from all of the 5 separate nonprofits, and then they wanted it all combined, and then they wanted it a little bit different. So they kept changing what they really wanted, because it was one of the first things they did with the ARPA funds too. So it was more of a back and forth of trying to figure out exactly what they needed and how much information they want. First, we gave them 252 pages, I guess.
Yeah.
We gave them a couple dozen. It settled somewhere in between there.
Yeah,
I think the process there and some of the hardships that we had were more on the state. And I do know that two people from our health department wrote that grant, and Lindsay Erickson is very familiar with the writing grant. She did a fantastic job. And there's one thing that Tom Simon from Habitat commended us on, and so this is why he mentioned it at the county board, because he thought that she did a fantastic job in writing it. It's all the procedures behind it that take forever.
And if you talk to Dr. Topol, or how did he find these people individually, or did they train them from within?
They're in public health.
But they were specific types of grant writer type people that they used, and we're looking for generalists and analysts.
We're looking for somebody to pay attention to see what the opportunities are out there. We have people in the county we can figure out to write grants and specific grants. There, Beth, you've been through this.
Yeah, that, I think I see what you're saying, but are we looking for a grant writer or just somebody to look for the items that we're missing? Because that, I agree with you, you're not gonna necessarily find an analyst that's an appropriate grant writer.
Right.
But I also wouldn't, I think if you categorize here are the high priorities, I would think that's more than enough for the board, because the board doesn't manage the staff, right?
Grant opportunities as well as other revenue sources that may not be grants. For
Of course.
instance, how are we
Sure.
billing our chapter 51 hours? Where else are we doing this? What revenues are we leaving on the table that we're sticking tax levy into that we have no business sticking tax levy?
Is we're familiar with the grant writing. So, are the 6 items here from line 42 through 50, are those items that we can say express the writing of or the operations of finding grants or prioritizing of?
You want the resolution?
On the back of the resolution, yes, the back of the resolution, and this would be
It starts with advising and supporting.
advising and supporting the ARPA strategy and outcomes commission on the allocation request, and there's 6 of them there. And then the resolution will appropriate 65,500 this year in labor and technology costs. Additionally, 365,000 will be reserved in labor costs for 2024, 25, and 26 annual budgets. We're looking at our budget. We're not looking at snatching up the interest off of the ARPA fund or the Spirit
Well,
fund.
that's my question. So is this resolution the same, taking that 300, or taking money to move into the budget to then
It's
pay
now
out
in the
this
budget,
situation?
or it's according to, it's in the budget, but sitting elsewhere. It's been run through the budget.
Paul, you got an answer?
It's in the unassigned general fund.
Right.
It hasn't been allocated, it hasn't been voted on.
So that's all you're
it's not in the
asking is to
budget.
allocate money to go into the budget
Yep.
to fund this. So then really the budget isn't skewed because it's an in and an
Yep.
out. But the money came, you're saying where the money's coming from.
Off the interest of the Spirit Fund to fund a 3-year position to find the inefficiencies in government, as well as the other revenue opportunities, as well as what's out there for grants to make sure that we're getting as much out of this turnip as we can. Yeah, Tim?
Mr. Chair, out of those 6 items, only number 4 mentions the word grants. All the rest are other revenue enhancing or finding, but there's only one that specifically references grants. So I think you're looking for a generalist in analysis.
Couple of points, as we heard from Supervisor, in regard to the amount of dollars. He come up with 210,000. I'm looking here at well over 400,000. That's a large disparity. So are you kind of padding these numbers a little bit, or what's going on?
I think it's technology and its benefits because it's on the TO. And we budget all the time, for a family plan. That's a lot of the times when we have overages and county budgets, that's where it comes from. And so if we have a TO, we assume that this person has a wife and 5 kids, or a husband and 4 kids, or a partner and whoever, what it is. And and then if they're a single, then there's a savings.
So this is an estimate.
Correct.
And actually, you're talking about salary and benefits.
And
Yes.
technology,
And technology, yep,
the database.
the laptop and.
Okay, now in addition to that, I had discussed at some point in time that this analyst would also provide services for the towns of this county,
Want to help keep an eye out and let
which
people
is
know.
indicated in the agenda item report, but none of that's in the resolution. So that simple verbal statement without any written document to demonstrate that would be part of the function.
Mr. Chair, that's lines 46 and 47. So that's based on the shared revenue bill that was passed signed by the governor 2 weeks ago,
You're referring to innovation grant?
Correct.
I think it should perhaps be a little more definitive in the document. So I get concerns with that. And I assume this is something that could actually be laid over, or you want amendments to this?
This is something I'd like to get recruiting on, hiring on as soon as I can.
Okay, because I respect you in the word you gave, and it's also in the agenda item report, but I repeat, it's not in the document, at least to clarify. That being the case, I'll have trouble supporting. If you read the agenda item report, that would be the second paragraph from the bottom. Many of our towns and small municipalities lack the staff and expertise to go after these funds. He's referring to grants.
Sure.
That is very true. Now, in incorporated municipalities, cities and villages do have that ability. Towns do not have that ability. So I was given the impression that this analyst would assist the towns in pursuing grants that they might need to have pursued. I do not see that wording in this document, in the resolution.
I think that's what Maury brought up last time, is that feels like a huge job.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, if you're saying, you
I mean, I
know,
think,
we can provide that.
If
fine.
I would.
For this is not for that resolution. There is
Which one is it for?
there is no agenda report for the resolution that is create a sunsetting innovation analyst position within Winnebago County Department of Administration.
I assume
This
that
is not,
was
this is for the
May 3rd one?
It's for the one we just rescinded. That's allow for the deviation of up to 10%. And here it is in the general description, approve the deviation of up to 10%. Now, this is not part of this.
Well.
Corporation Counsel, please,
If I might
clarification.
respond.
Let me get some
If I have the
clarification from the
floor.
Corporation
So
Counsel.
basically, the agenda item report is backing up what was listed on the agenda for today, which
Okay.
was the original resolution. So if we were to amend that agenda item report, it wouldn't be proper, at least when we were sending out the package, because we had to have basically the resolution that was considered by you in May and the agenda item report attached to it, because you were gonna take that up. So that's why it
This
doesn't.
was, are you talking about what we were taking up at P&F? Or are you
No, I-
talking about what we're taking up?
I'm talking
Earlier
about
in May.
today's agenda, which referenced The ARPA resolution that was referenced in May by the ARPA Commission, okay? And that resolution had an agenda item report attached to it.
And that's
and
what
that
this
was the
is.
April 26, 23 agenda item
Okay,
report.
okay, but that does not reference the new resolution to create a sunsetting innovative analyst position within Winnebago County. Zane's is 10%. That's not. We do
Well,
not have an agenda report.
For that
this.
separate, you were correct. We do not have an agenda
you.
report for that separate resolution. But that agenda item report, if you read it, can be surgically worked
no,
on.
no,
I'm
come
just telling you, that's what can happen. But this agenda item report references what was on the agenda for today.
Take this back to my point, and I appreciate your observation, Mr. Cox. If you compare the one that was rejected by the commission, it has the same verbiage as the new one, 1 through 6. So in either document, it does not specify the requirement that this person would provide a service to the towns. That's what I'm looking for. It's not this.
Is there amendment?
Although it was promised.
Is there amendment, or first of all, I want to ask a personal question if I may.
Oh, certainly.
All right. I'm trying to figure out how I can do this because I don't know some of these things work. We'll just say that there are past resolutions that have come through this commission that were much needed for towns and much needed for farmers.
Correct.
Right? And I think that my administration was more than helpful getting both those legislations through.
After a period of time,
Right.
yes.
To make sure that we can get it done right, and make sure to get it done effectively, make sure that it was passed through the county board.
As long as on a personal level, you initially opposed it.
Right.
A
Correct.
matter of record.
Yep, I oppose
Okay,
certain aspects of that.
Yeah.
Right? And
that's politics.
right, and we came to an agreement. I want to make sure that I was helping out because I agree with you. Towns are struggling.
You did the right thing.
Right,
Yeah.
correct. And I would just say that I intend to do the right thing again with this. If there's an amendment that you would like to make or a line that you would like to put on there, I think we could do that, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Ferry, on line 47, of taxpayer resources, especially on projects which qualify for innovation grants from the state of Wisconsin. Somewhere in there, you could request an amendment that says, including projects on behalf of town or local governments, however you want to say it. We could put including projects on behalf of towns, local governments.
As a separate line item,
Well, you wouldn't have to, you could put it right in number 4. Huh?
you're tying it to an intervention.
That was, yeah, and if you don't want to do that, which was the purpose of the.
Yeah, I don't want to because that's, at this point, it's still an arbitrary budget issue. The governor has not signed the budget.
No, the
That was a
share
law.
revenue is law.
SB2.
Has that been approved?
Innovation funds are state law now.
Then I need to have more details on what that involves, because I'm not up to date on that grant cost.
Then you could add, if you wanted to add another number, you could add,
It would be 7.
sure.
And-
You could add, that the position may, however you want to phrase it, work on projects for towns, local governments, municipalities, whatever phrase you want to use. You wanted to add another sentence?
Well, I would say not may, you can use the word shall or will, cooperate with the government for grant proposals on a needed basis. I don't want to make it where we're tying a guy up, you got 15 towns. But if there's a special project or something needs to be done, he would assist with that. How can you word that?
All right, give me a second.
I mean,
He's
how-
good at wording, so.
Right, and how I would envision this is in the innovation fund, there's, if towns want to get together and combine services and
Yeah.
help each other out, can we support the towns and how do we figure that out and how do we get that revenue from the
It's
innovation?
an
fund?
innovative idea, but from a practical, logical point of view, I don't think we're gonna see it.
I'll need you to assist here. So number 7 would be the position will assist on special projects, including grants for governments, but if you want to put an adjective, yeah, that's where I need your help. Town, local governments, municipalities, towns exclusively. So then what I have written is the position will assist on special projects, including grants for town governments.
Municipalities. Right, add municipalities in there.
Well,
You can't do
as
that.
I indicated, municipalities already have their own grant writers. They're incorporated municipalities. Town of Winnebago does, I won't speak for Armor, Village of Winnebago does. I don't know about Armor, I'm sure the city of Oshkosh
Well,
does.
I'm thinking if you do that, you can't exclude the municipalities. You make it, right?
does not.
There you go.
Fox Crossing does not? You don't have a grant opera? I thought George Dearborn was a grant opera.
Well,
Nonetheless, it's,
What does it hurt to put it in?
yeah, nothing.
right.
So
Well, if we do municipalities, you're taking it from 15 to 22. So you got 7 more municipalities that this person would have to address.
But this is a county-wide commission.
Oh, I totally
And,
agree.
and if you're gonna help one, you should be helping them all, because Fox Crossing doesn't have a grant writer, the town of Clayton doesn't have a grant writer, there's no
Well, the
difference.
town of Clayton does not know, but I'm referring to the agenda item report. It clearly states town.
Well, if you're gonna make an
That's
amendment,
my
if you're gonna make
response.
amendment, my amendment would be to add municipalities in there.
Is that feasible for this person to do that much more work?
I don't think it's necessary. I think the will of myself is going to be able to help our citizens wherever they are, wherever they need it in the best way that we can. And I think my track record has proved that.
Well, I'm sure, but without it being in the document,
So then, there's no motion, but then what we could do is we could take the language from the item report, and you can say.
well, let's get back to the motion because we were clarifying the
The
language.
position will assist on special projects, including grants for towns and small governments, and that's pulling it right off that sentence.
In the agenda item.
And small
Municipality, sorry. Yep.
Okay, would that satisfy yours? Because, you know, the big municipalities,
Yes.
yeah, that's fine with me. I'll move to add that language
I'll
to
read
the
it.
resolution identified as item number 7.
The position will assist on special projects, including grants for towns and small municipalities.
That's between line 49 and 50.
Is there a second for that
Oh,
motion?
wait a minute. I want you to go through that and strike what isn't necessary.
We'll take it one thing at a time. There's a motion on the floor
I'll
right now.
second,
You can move
Chuck's.
to amend.
Yep.
I'll second the amendment.
The second amendment. All right, any discussion on that amendment?
Mr. Cox, you have a point?
Well, the general description, you're gonna be taking, deviating up to 10% of the spirit fund.
No, that's not in the resolution.
It's not a resolution.
No, I'm cherry picking
From the
a
resolution?
sentence from this agenda item report to illustrate what has been said verbally to me and what I assumed would be in the resolution. So I'm offering my opinion to clarify those prior discussions.
Well, this is,
Nancy's is better.
that's the bottom part of what that resolution should be saying.
Oh, yeah, that's in here.
No, but you have it.
You have it.
Yeah, that's already in here, Morris.
Insert.
Follow along where we are, Tom.
Oh, wait a minute, because, yeah, that's in here, on line 52.
Line 58, the committee has not voted yet.
Well, that's part of the mistake in the copy. That's why I was confused about which resolution we're talking about.
Two of them.
Okay, Tom? Are we still, let me just help me out, clarification where
We're
we're
on the
at.
amendment.
We're on the amendment, which has been seconded. All right, Tom, do you have a?
Not on the amendment.
All right, so let's get through the amendment first. Any other discussion on that? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Okay.
I have a hard time voting for this whatsoever. I do not think that the Spirit Fund was set up to be taking money for something like this whatsoever. I don't think this is what the government gave us money to be doing, for us to go ahead and be paying out wages for another person to be going ahead and doing this. I like the idea of helping out the towns and counties and whatever else you want, but I just think that we're taking money from the Spirit Fund that we shouldn't even be touching and putting towards something like this. I think we've got other things that this can go forward. I know you're gonna say, well, it's only 64,000 plus or whatever it is, 100,000. But I just do not think that this is a place that money should be going towards, is towards something like this. And I think you guys should really think about where we can't even get money spent, and all of a sudden we're gonna spend however much money it is, we can give it right out to a person. That's gonna be our recommendation. But still, we've been sitting here for a year and a half, and we haven't even got hardly anything going on. Beth is hoping she can get something done by the end of the year, to get some of that going. But still, here we can go ahead and we can vote and give out this amount of money for something there. I cannot support this, I'm sorry.
If I may respond, I appreciate everything that you just said, and I don't think I'm in disagreement with a lot of it. The one thing, this doesn't spend any of that 33.5 million, it's the interest, which was allowable, the ARPA dollars, to be able to spend this on funds like this. I agree with you, it doesn't feel like we're moving fast. That's why we need a position to come in, to help us with a lot of this extra work that we have going on. Also why I wanted it sunsetted. I didn't want this to be on there forever. So I do agree with that. And this is just a response from a lot of staff, from Director Collard, from the challenges that I've heard with Paul and his team, and our team to get all this stuff done, as well as run the daily operations.
Excuse me.
Yep, no.
I agree with you, but that $33 million, and say interest, so where are you getting that interest from? It's $33 million, which that interest could be going towards something else. You're right, you have the right to go ahead and spend it on that. I'm just saying, I feel as though we've got other projects and other things that can be done. And actually, there's no guarantee you're gonna give these towns or small communities or whatever any more help, because by the sounds of things, you guys need all the help you can up in your offices up there to keep things going. So, right. So if you're gonna do that, I don't know where you're gonna find the time to help everyone else.
Well, and it's about reducing our tax liability.
Well,
What are the efficiencies that we can actually find? Where's the money that we're wasting? Where are the other examples of Title Chapter 51s where we're not billing hours to where we should be? How many more of those are through there? So for me, this isn't just adding a position. It's bringing somebody in for 3 years to really do a diagnostics in our county to find out where the money we're spending and where the money we could save, as well as help us navigate all the other funds that are coming through, the innovation fund, as well as help us to be there for the towns that don't have the ability to know when these monies are coming through. And what do you rely on? East Central Wisconsin to let you know if there's money coming out for a town road or something that, what resources do you have?
You want a frank answer?
Yeah.
My friend, hell no, we can't get into all that.
You
stuff.
can't.
We got a 3-person board.
Correct.
Nobody writes grants. We all work for a living. That's.
If I wanted to be honest, I'd probably be here with a $2 million ask for a staff of 10 to actually get this stuff done. But I'm asking for one off the interest off of this, and Paul, I don't know if you can let me know how much interest have we gained from the Spirit Fund thus far?
700,000
Should be over $1 million.
Right.
that could have been into the budget system. If you wanted that, why didn't you put this into budget? Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Because I didn't want to spend tax levy on it,
No.
and I didn't want to spend general fund on it. That's my
You'll be
reason.
using this money on some other place, so. Go ahead.
Businessman, sir. Would you be hiring people into your business without having a resume or any kind of background, any kind of application laying out what they've done in the past and what they're going to do for you in the future?
I don't understand your question.
Well, this
would I be considering a position at my restaurant or my business, if you would, without understanding what it would do? Of course not.
Without not only understanding what it would do, but whomever, whatever you sign up for a new position, it would seem to me that you would want some kind of a background, some kind of a resume, or some kind of application on it. And thereby putting it in here that you're asking for it, or at least agreeing to it in the item agenda report.
I'm confused. Are you asking about a person or a position?
You're looking for the position on a deal. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, we don't have a way of putting it in there so that we can understand what you really want. I don't know that this tells us what you really want.
All right, two hands up, I finally got it. I saw Chuck's eyes light up when you said a grant writer, and he tells me he doesn't have anybody. And I think in our last meeting, I spoke to the fact that you can't do what you're asking to do because the organization ain't there, the widgets aren't there. Now, what came out on this presentation so far, it isn't write the grants, but assist the town in writing the grants, which is different than writing the grants.
Oh, good point.
You know, Outagamie, oh my God, it struck my lightning. Winnebago County will do town roads. Maybe this year, maybe next year, maybe the year after. They will do them eventually, but they won't. I don't think we have that kind of flexibility in writing grants. And I'd be interested to see what the real plan is, not now, but how you're gonna get success from that person. First of all, he's only here 3 years. The first year and a half, he'll learn what he's doing. And after that, might be able to get something done. But that's where I find it, you're right. You need more than that to do that, if that's what you're really gonna do. Otherwise, you shouldn't even tell us, you know. But I mean, when the way he lit up, I mean, I've never
You bring
seen.
up a really good point.
Oh, geez.
In fact, it's an excellent point, we might have the floor. Assist the towns in writing a because we don't have a grant writer. You got nobody to assist.
For that. Yeah, you can't just unglue
This
it.
person would have to write the grant.
No.
Yeah, then I'm afraid, the motive was good, but the factual side of it just doesn't add up, does it?
Well, because it doesn't help the towns enough? So we want to actually have something, here's my frustration. I understand your 3 years and I apologize for emotions. And I probably should not be speaking right now, but I'm a little heated, so I'm gonna try to manage that the best I can. So because of the fact that we don't have the ability to do all these things, we should hire somebody to help the county. Because of the fact that we can't do enough for the towns, we shouldn't have this ability to actually look at what we do in a county. And the whole 3 years are not gonna be able to do anything. I haven't been here 3 years yet, Tom, and I'm pretty sure I've made a lot of change. Like, I'm sure our department heads have been working together better. I think we found a lot of inefficiencies already with the short staff that we have. What Paul and Carol are doing right now through the budget and PVB is amazing for us to actually look at how we actually do things. And we have all these different departments doing 18 different things, 18 different ways, and they actually have a plan to figure out how we can get this aligned in two. Working with Mike, I think it's amazing of what we've been able to do in less than 3 years, and I guess I'm frustrated now to the point where we don't want to give the fourth floor a little bit extra help. We don't want to give Mike Collard the extra help that he needs, that Mark Havoc gave you a great description of how many of these analyst positions help. That we try to say we want to try to do as much as, and I know, Chuck, I'm asking to bite off a big chunk here, right? This is a huge chunk, but I think we can get it done because we are. And I guess I'm just frustrated, and I'll probably shut my mouth now, which is something I should have done 2 minutes.
If I might correct your statement.
Please.
If we were dealing with levy funds, tax, that would be a different issue. That would be for Winnebago County. We're dealing with ARPA funds. The interest off ARPA funds, now spirit funds. those monies are supposed to be used for the community within Winnebago County. That's the difference. That's where towns come in, villages come in, cities come in. And I might add nonprofits, but I'll not say that, so.
I'm
I
trying.
differ a little with what you're saying.
I just have a couple thoughts here. I mean, the sentiment is, you know, the county executive, the administration office, there's a number of people in your office that have not been there in the past. And we've inflated the executive and the administration office from where it was in the past. Now, how many more people are you gonna have up there? I agree with that sentiment. Because there's a lot more people up there to do the same job with the same amount of people in our county. Okay? Where I'm having a little trouble with this is that we have historic investments in our infrastructure that we haven't had before. The comment about your East Central Planning Commission to find these grants, they're not gonna find them. They're not gonna find them. So we have a once in a generational opportunity here that if we don't capitalize on this, this money's gonna go somewhere else. Not saying that we, you know, it's kind of a hope. It's a little bit of a hope here, but you know, again, these bills that were passed are once in a generation. No, this money, the last time this money was spent on our roads was 1957 or something like that. So if we don't capitalize on this, this money is going to go to another community. And so I have personally have issues with the amount of people in your office, if I can be totally frank, you know, but I think that if we just say, well, the business as usual here, business as usual, we're gonna let some of this stuff squander. So I'm on the fence with this right now. So
If I may respond real quick, it has not been business as usual the last 3 years. It is not just simple daily operations the last 3 years. I mean, before I got here. Tim?
I was just gonna make the comment, relative to, Mr. Cox's comments. I don't think it's our responsibility to write a resume or put the criteria. That's whoever department is gonna report to will tell us what sort of things they're looking for. And then they will solicit resumes from the potential candidates, and they will make a decision who the best one is. That's the way we do it in our business, that we say, this is what we want. We do have some criteria, but that is done by our department head. And then you solicit the resumes.
And for the record, I asked for a position like this in October of 21 after I got elected. And that was not the chief of staff. That was to help us with the ARPA funds. That was part of that.
Well, just a quick comment, and using your term, personal question, let me give a personal response. You're saying this is not business as usual. The first 2 years of my term have not been business as usual. That is because of all the changes we have made within this county, which creates more issues on the administrative level. Now you want a person to support all those changes. Does that pit have an end to it?
Hopefully.
I mean, if we keep making changes, you're gonna request more support. So, even though, and I appreciate the you know, my motion to support and all that, and I certainly respect Mr. Egan as chairman of this county, I'm kind of on the fence here too now. I don't know.
I'm going to support this, but I have to note the irony of using the interest earnings that we're earning from the inefficiency of our ability to do anything with the damn money.
Yeah.
So,
well said. Wow.
So I'm going to support this.
Coming from a bank.
Yeah. That was my idea.
Jumped right out at you.
Yeah. Oh.
Let me just address Mr. Buck's thought that the money is not government, not
said money. Money has already been subsumed into the general fund. It's our money. And it extends out beyond 2026. Okay, far, far and beyond. It is money as a rainy day fund should be looked at. It's money that the taxpayers own and trust that we're going to spend properly. It's money that if I were hiring somebody, I would want a resume. I would want that person. We'll define the TO and the position itself. But I would want the resume coming out of the person so I knew what I was getting matching the TO. The TO is what you're looking for. The identity to the TO is what you put on the back here. And it looks to me like just about anybody could fill the shoes if they were, you know, got a master's degree or maybe a bachelor's degree. Okay? But
Yeah, I don't know how this works, but in my world, if my board would ask me, like, we need to know, I would say that's out of your lane. Is that how it works in government? Like,
no.
Isn't this office the only that you supervise? And it's not like he's hiring an accountant, so you need to have these certifications and these degrees. I mean, I would say an analyst could come
it is a
from.
generalist requirement.
Yeah. Yes, you are correct. He does the hiring and the firing. I think our question is, do we want to give him the permission to take the money?
Okay.
But he does the hiring
Yeah,
and firing.
and that I get. I'm just
You
wondering,
do not sit in-
I'm trying to differentiate between what you're trying to get out of it, which I appreciate, but I think it feels like this could have a breadth of competencies that would be appropriate for it. But somebody said, like, you could write in there that they need to save double their salary. I mean, that's how we hire fundraisers. You have to raise 3 times your salary. Otherwise, you're not hitting your goals and you don't get to keep your job. So if you're gonna say you need to put aside 300,000 for the next 3 years, but they're gonna save 600, isn't that?
Or millions,
Or millions?
which I believe are on the table.
It's the we don't know what we don't know
Right.
problem.
Right.
Well, let's call the question.
I think it's been enough discussion on this, and I can see some tough votes coming, which is okay. So we'll do a roll call on this one. Just so that we know where it's at.
Did somebody second?
I'll second Colin's question.
He's just going to the vote.
Yeah, just gonna go to the vote.
He's ignoring that motion.
I'm ignoring that motion, just gonna call, and we're gonna vote, and we're gonna do it roll call, so there's no.
On what?
On the amendment, on the resolution with Chuck's amendment, as amended, yes.
No.
Demo,
Aye.
Buck,
Aye.
Cox,
No.
Barry,
No.
Worker,
No.
Belter,
Aye.
Oswald, Galloway.
Aye.
5-4.
That's what it is. He carried it again. Yep.
Yeah, now he's gotta get it by the county board.
All right, next meeting date.
We don't get burned out.
Advances to the board.
Well, it's gotta get, it still has to make it through P and F.
Oh, yeah.
It's gotta get on the P and F.
Yeah, well, where am I? I need my agenda. I got.
All right, next meeting date, we're looking at Thursday, August 10th. Is that correct? Does that work for everybody?
Every day, one day every week until we get it done.
Wait a minute, aren't you?
We can have.
Thursday, August.
We have something else? Is there something I'm missing there?
The personnel finance?
Action on advancing inflation.
Isn't that a separate question?
Oh. No, I think that's what we did. We reconsidered it and then we took action.
We passed the resolution.
Do I need another motion here?
You're asking a separate question here.
Well, we passed the resolution
You have the resolution with his amendment.
5-4.
Yeah.
And we're just gonna assume that that goes.
The
back.
next bullet point is whether or not to advance it to personnel. That's how I read it.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
So August 10th.
August 10th?
At 1.
Yep, Peter again. I think it works.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I think we should be able to get these minutes sooner. We're planning a whole month almost ahead of time, and these minutes are coming. The girls had to stay there late to get them out on Friday night.
Sure.
$9 and something to get them so they could get them out. There's no reason.
Yeah.
They can't get to us. Now I don't know if they have to go to Mary Ann to get approved or whatever, but any other committee has to have them up to her 10 days or whatever ahead of time, so.
I don't approve minutes. I mean,
No, not minutes, but any drafts or whatever resolutions you have.
I
So,
want a draft of minutes. Can get-
so I'm just saying that
I'm not gonna make a
it'd be nice
staffing
to-
joke right now. It's not gonna
It'd be
happen.
nice if we would get them sooner. I just think that.
Yeah. Are we looking at 1 o'clock?
1 o'clock. Sure. All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.
Nay.
Nay.